One more time.
2020. On cherche le bonheur mais sans jamais lever trou. L'ennemi est dans la casserole en train de cuire à feu doux.
Hey guys, so it is the third Saturday of the month, which means it is time to dissect a song. Okay, so this month I'm doing Gims, his song Immortel. I know that this song came out not too long ago, but it was a rend hommage. You know, it's basically a memory, an homage for Black Lives Matter. Basically, you guys need to watch the music video. I have that linked below, but that is kind of like I know that like it very much touches on Black Lives Matter. You don't even have to understand English to know what the song is really about, because I think his music video very much does a very good job of visually explaining what he's talking about, even for people who are not native French speakers. So the song starts off, or the video starts off with a quote that I did want to share, and it says, qui survit et doit survivre éternellement dans la mémoire des hommes. So this basically means who survives and must survive eternally in the memory of men. So it's like how when people say, people might say, when you die twice. You die once physically, and you die again when like the last person says your name. It's kind of like the movie Coco, where basically like the one guy disappears because he's being forgotten. So it's like you disappear and you die again, which is the final death, as they call it. So it's kind of the same thing. Even the fact is that, you know, George Floyd, is unfortunate as it was, the way that he died, but because of that, it really, I don't think people are going to forget that, because it's a moment that's going to be in textbooks, because of the fact that it's something that people are going to be talking about for years to come. Because like when we talk about history, because later on down the road, a lot of the stuff that's happening now is going to be put in textbooks in the future. You know, the fact that we had a crazy president, and there's the fact that, you know, someone died unlawfully, really, inhumanely. And so his death, that's why when people say, you know, say his name, that's how he's living through us. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who it was a beacon of light for women in this country, she will live on eternally. You are immortal in the metaphorical sense when people are still saying your name and you're being remembered. So I think that makes sense. So we're gonna get into it. So the first line of the song is, on cherche le bonheur, mais sans jamais le ver trop. So you can use that when you're talking about we or one. Like it's kind of like third person, where it's like one searches for the happiness, but without ever finding it. Also, vers trop. I actually was so confused when I read this, but apparently if you switch it around, which was what they call le verlan, which is basically when you take half the word and then you switch it around, and it's like their version of like slang, which is weird, but whatever. It's just the thing that they do. So if you ever heard anyone say chalou, it basically, if you switch the words around, it means louche, and louche means weird. You know. So if you switch this around, it would be trouver, which means to find. So one searches for happiness, but without ever finding it. L'ennemi est dans la casserole en train de cuire à feu doux. So la casserole, I've actually found this definition, because I was like, I think they mean a casserole, but I could be wrong. So I looked it up in case it was a false cognitive, and it actually means a saucepan. But also in the figurative sense, it can also mean a scandal or a disgrace. And also in some contexts, it actually can mean badly tuned. Like kind of like, you know, when people sing and then they're like, no, that was so bad. You know, like those people where they sing off tune, that kind of thing. So that's basically what it means. But la casserole in this context can mean a saucepan. The enemy is in the saucepan, en train de cuire à feu doux. So en train de basically means in the middle of, or in the process of doing. So it's like when we say in present progressive context, we'll say, I am cooking. So that's like that context means that you're saying this as you're doing it, like progressive, present progressive. I'm currently doing this as I'm telling you this. So en train de, you could say this with anything, like je suis en train de je suis en train de parler à vous. I'm in the middle of talking to you, that kind of thing. You can use it for anything. And then the enemy is in the saucepan as it's cooking at a soft fire. Je pense déjà à l'argent que je vais surtout on veut me faire. When you speak naturally, sometimes letters get dropped off and these lyrics are written as they're spoken. So it's really je pense, but we're saying it in the context of, and when you say it pretty fast, it's je pense, because he does say these words really fast in the song. Déjà, we've heard this word before. If you've ever heard of déjà vu, déjà means already. So if you're saying like, j'ai déjà vu, which means I've already seen. So like if someone shows you something, you could say, oh, je l'ai déjà vu. Like I've already seen that, so I already thought of the money. Also, l'argent means money, but if you use it in the adjective sense, it also means silver, like the color. So if you're talking about like, let's say like silver, like a silver ring, you can say une bague, une bague argent, like a silver ring. In this context, it means money. I've already thought of the money that I was going to touch. If you want to say you're going to do something, you can always use je vais. Je vais is the first person conjugation of aller, which means to go. So if you're saying like I'm going to do something, instead of conjugating the verb in the future tense, you can just say je vais. Like je vais aller au supermarché. I'm going to go to the supermarket. You can say je vais parler avec mes amis. I'm going to speak to my friends. Something like that. You can just je vais, and you can just put any infinitive verb in front of that. So that's something you can do. And then also cher tout. If you switch that around, it would be toucher, which means to touch. So basically, it's like I've already thought about the money that I'm going to touch. It wants to make me. Like, it's kind of like, in the context, it's like saying, like, because he grew up impoverished. If you've ever seen his story, his documentary, Gims, it's on Netflix, and I actually created a video of that, a celebratory video that's also linked in there. He talks a lot about that in his video. But when you grow up impoverished, you kind of have the sense of what you don't really want to go through. He's like, a lot of people, especially artists who have grown up in challenging circumstances, they often want more for themselves. They're always very ambitious, and it says that we on veut le me faire, like we want to make it for ourselves. So me faire, like it says me faire, but like I said, we drop off letters when we talk at a normally quick pace. So me faire, it's like one wants to make it, want it to make me. So it's like I've already thought of the money I'm going to touch, but we want to make it for us. It's like, it's basically like I've thought about the money that I want, and I want to make it for myself. If that makes sense. So, and then after that it says, je sais que le poisson est dans le chel douche, je te parle d'écologie dans un V12. So it's saying, I know that the poison, also le poisson, do not confuse this with le poisson because those are spelled similarly, but one of them has an extra S. So if you're talking about fish, it's le poisson with 2 S's. So if you're texting somebody or you're talking about what you're eating, don't say le poisson like with 1 S, because then you're telling someone that you're eating poison and they might get a little concerned. Just so you know. Is also le gel douche. It actually means shower gel. So if you've ever read like those the labels on any of your products, sometimes they'll say it in French and Spanish. So le gel douche is typically what you'll see. La douche means a shower, like the shower. So in English, we use that in different contexts. Like when we talk about someone, we're like, oh, don't be such a douche. In English, we're trying to say like, you know, someone's being, I don't know, like an asshole or, you know, a jerk, something like that. But in French, it actually means a shower. So like, je prends une douche. I'm taking a shower. Okay. And then, je te parle d'écologie dans un V12. So, I'm sorry, so fly. So basically, he's saying like, je te parle, that is a reflexive context. So it's je te parle, it's like you speak. So it's like I'm talking to you. Anytime you're saying je parle de, it means I'm talking of something. If you say je parle à, it means I'm speaking to someone. So je parle d'écologie. It's like I'm talking about ecology in a V12. And I actually looked this up. I was like, V12, what is that? I know it's something to do with something. I don't know. But it actually is a motor or an engine of some sort. So it's actually it's a type of engine or something like that. So you can look that up. I'm talking about ecology in a V12 engine. Then it says, je viens tout doux chambouler comme le divorce. Je viens means like I come, like I'm coming. Like if someone's saying like hurry up and you're like I'm coming, like leave me alone, like that's basically what it means. It's like you are like arriving, like yeah. So je viens tout doux. Tout means all or every, and then doux means obviously soft or sweet. I think, yeah, I get those words mixed up sometimes because like they are spelled similarly. Yeah, and then okay, so where was I at? Okay, so chambouler basically means to upset, shake up, or bring havoc. So it's like a divorce. It's like I'm coming all softly to wreak havoc like a divorce. I'm sure he's talking about like a messy divorce, because there are some divorces that are just like peacefully, like if you've ever seen A Marriage Story, I think that's what it's called. It was with Scarlett Johansson. So basically, it's like there's some that are just peaceful, sort of, and then there's divorces that are kind of really messy. So it's like I've come all softly to wreak havoc like a divorce. T'as fait la soirée, l'after, même le before. So a lot of times, sometimes in French songs you'll see some English words in it because they learn English at a young age and English is everywhere. So a lot of times you'll see that. Okay. Tu as fait, this is actually past tense for tu as fait, which means you have made, or you made, or you did. La soirée, you made the evening, or because la soirée could also mean like an evening, but la soirée could also mean like a evening party. Yeah, you know, we're like, oh, we're going to a soirée, because in English we associate anything that sounds French as something that is like sophisticated or fancy, but for them it's like, yeah, soirée, like it's a party, normal gathering kind of thing. After, even, the before. So it's like you created it's like you made or you did a soirée. It's like basically you had a party. Like it's like I hosted a party. The after, even, the before. Nous verrons tôt ou tard qui est le plus fort. Je te Je te suggère. Okay, so nous verrons. Verrons basically is like the future tense. So it says we will see tôt ou tard, early. Tôt means like early, but it also can mean soon or later. Who is the, anytime you're trying to say like superlative, it would be le, like if it's a masculine thing, it would be le plus fort, like the most, the more. Yeah, plus means like more, but also like le plus, like the best, or like the strongest. You don't ever say like, I always say stronger. We might say stronger, we might say the strongest, but for them they just say le plus fort. And if you're trying to say something is comparative, you would say plus fort que, like more stronger than. But like when you say le or la, if it's a feminine noun, if it's a feminine word, then it would be the most strong. So le plus fort, je te suggère, I suggest to you. So it's like we're gonna see sooner or later who is the strongest. I'm suggesting to you. D'économiser tes forts, ferme la porte, car je passe par le bifrost. Okay, so économiser basically means to save. It can mean like économiser l'argent, like saving money. Économiser can just mean to save, like to conserve. Kind of think about how like in the economy, how it has to do with money. So a lot of times people are trying to save or stock up money for savings. So saving your money. And then there's also sauver, which means like to save someone from harm. There's different words for different things. In English, we have so many different, I think they're called homophones, where like there's words that sound the same, but they may or may not be spelled differently. They have the same thing, but they don't do that. So économiser means like to save, like conserve in that sense. So save tes forces, this is like the plural sense, so save your strength. Force, it also can mean like the physics term of like force, like I forget what it is, but yeah, it's a physics term. But force can also mean like strength, like j'ai la force, I have the strength. So save your forces or save your strengths. Ferme la porte, close the door. Car can also mean the same thing as parce que, because which means because, or yeah. So it's like because je passe par le bifrost, like I pass, like I go, like I pass through, I pass by the bifrost. Bifrost, I actually looked this up because I didn't know what this was, and they weren't, word reference wasn't giving me any help. So it actually is a radio show, but also it is like Norse mythology, that it's like a burning rainbow bridge that's between Midgard, which is referred to as Earth, and Asgard, which is the realm of the gods. So it's like save your forces, close the door, because I pass by the burning rainbow bridge that is between Earth and where the gods are, in terms of like Norse mythology. And then after that it says tous ces efforts pour te faire éliminer. It says all these efforts. You can use pour, basically means for, like F-O-R, for, but like you can also use it as to say like in the infinitive form of the verb, like pour parler, like for to speak. So it basically means the same thing, like to speak. Pour te faire éliminer, for you to make or to do, eliminate, like to eliminate. So it's like all these efforts to make you eliminated, if that makes sense. Okay, and then moving on, it says personne n'a marché sur le croissant lumineux. A person. Anytime you want to make something negative, you could say ne in front of it, and then there's pas, which is at the other side. It's like if you're trying to negate something, it's ne and then pas, and then the verb is in the middle of that. But sometimes you can just take off. In speaking, you always see it like someone will like, they'll take off like one of those three things, or one of those two things, and it'll just be n'a marché. This is past tense. Person does not walk on the illuminated crescent. So it's like, I think they're referring to the moon. Like, if you ever heard of croissant, like the bread, it's called that because it, most likely because it's shaped like a crescent, like the moon. Yeah, so there's that. Also, marcher could also mean to not work. So if you're trying to talk, if you're talking about your computer, like your computer's not working, you can say, oh, l'ordinateur ne marche pas, like it's not walking, like it's not working. So it can also mean that too. You can also say l'ordinateur ne fonctionne pas, like it doesn't function. But basically, in layman's terms, it just basically means like, you can just say, ça ne marche pas. That doesn't work. And then after that says, le monde dans la main de quelques illuminés. The world in the hand of some illuminated. Of quelques means like some, or it means like basically if you're talking about like a handful of something, you can use that. So it's like the world is in the hands of those illuminated. I think it's like a reference of immortality. Typically, like people are the ones that are illuminated. So it's kind of like it can also, I think, can be a reference to God, because God is illuminated when you think about heaven. In that sense, if you believe in heaven, I know people believe in different things. And then le mot clé est dominer, aimer, détester comme dominage. So le mot clé basically means keywords. Anytime you are describing an adjective, it's like the word, it's saying the word key, like the key word. C'est means it is. So it's like a contraction, because it would be ça est. So we don't really say that. So it just, we take off the a, and it's just like c'est, which means it is. The key word, it is. Dominer, aimer, which means love. Détester, which means hate. Comme dominage, like dominage. And I looked this up. I think it's like there's Raymond Dominage, which is basically a football player, like football in the sense of soccer for Americans, not football, not American football. He is a footballer. He is now 68 years old, and basically I think he's from Lyon. Yeah, either that or he's talking about Meghan McCain's husband. So it's like to love, to dominate, love, hate, like dominage. And then the refrain is like zid zid, which he says that a lot, and I looked that up because I was confused about that. And basically it's referring to a Moroccan, like something that's like a word that's like from the Moroccan dialect, which means rajoute en, which basically means to lay it on thick. And then there's a part where he says c'est déjà fini, which means it's already finished. C'est déjà fini. Fini comes from finir, which means to finish. So c'est déjà fini. C'est déjà fini. Okay. Yeah. And then there's like a part where it says Warno, and I looked that up, and it's actually a reference to one of his previous songs called Warno Style. Okay. So the refrain is basically the same thing. It's just, yeah. At first I thought it was saying what I know, like, you know, like what I know. And I was like, and I looked this up and I was like, oh, okay, that's not what they were saying. It's like what they call malapropism, which is like when you hear things and they're interpreted differently to someone else. You know, like kind of like misunderstandings almost. Yeah. Okay, so the second verse, it says, ma ville est située derrière la raison. Okay, so it basically means my city, ma villa. At first I thought he was saying ville, but which means the city, This is my villa, like my villa, like the type of house, is situated behind. Derrière means behind. We use that in like slang term in America when we're talking about someone's body part, but it actually is a preposition that means behind. But they don't really use it in that term necessarily, in that context, but they use it in the sense of like something is located behind something. So ma villa is situated behind the horizon. C'est pas parce que tu dis la vérité que tu as raison. It says it is not because you said the truth that you are right. I don't know necessarily what that means, but I just know that I'm telling you what that literally means. It says Immortel comme sirop de Marzio. I looked that up, and turns out that is a sirop de Marzio. I think that was mentioned as a person from a series called Gomorrah, who is called, or he's referenced as Immortel. And apparently they made a spin-off series of this person. But basically, yeah, there's a character in the show, Gomorrah, and he calls himself Immortel. Immortel, like Cyril de Marzio. IMMT sur le blason SIXION dans la maison. So IMMT, it actually means inner membrane mitochondrial protein, which is basically found in Homo sapiens, which is what we are. Which is what we are. Yeah. So le blason is like a shield. It's like a coat of arms. So it's like mitochondrial, whatever, that long thing scientific thing that I just said. Coat of arms is on the coat of arms. Then he's spelling out section, which actually is a group that he was a part of early on in his career called Section Assaut. And it was like a hip hop group. So if you could also find some of those songs on our playlist that is on our website if you're looking for music recommendations. Dans la maison, in the house. So it's like IMMT, on the shield or coat of arms. Section dans, in the house, if that makes sense. Noir, full black, comme les tirons de terron. So noir means black, in the color, like the color. You can also call someone that, like in terms of like their race, like, oh, c'est le noir, like je suis noir, like I'm a female, so it would be noir, like you would actually emphasize the R. But noir is like the masculine form of black. Then he says full black, comme les tyrans, like the tyrants of Tehran, which is actually the capital of Iran. So he's like black, full black, like the tyrants of Tehran. Y a une taupe quelque part faux vérité terron. Okay, ya is actually a quicker way of saying il y a, which means there is. Il y a une taupe, which means it's like une taupe means like a mole. It's actually a color. It means like a mole or like a spy. You know, it's like il y a une taupe quelque part. Some part. It must vérifier means like to tell, like to verify, like to bring, you know, like kind of like la vérité means the truth. So it's like to verify, like the rows or the ranking. So it's like there is a mole somewhere. It must be verified in the ranks, like it must be identified. So it's like if you know, like you're in the military and someone in your group is working for another, you know, for a foreign adversary. It's like they must be found because that's dangerous. So it says there is a spy, some part, it must be. Faux basically means it must be done. So basically in this context, like sometimes like people will drop off the pronoun like faux, like we know what you're talking about. Terron, which means the ranks or like the placements. And then porte de la chapelle quelque part, quelques âmes errantes. Porte de la chapelle, it means doors of the chapel, like la chapelle Sistine, like Sistine Chapel. Quelques âmes errant, so door of the chapel, some spirit, like, no, some souls. Âme means soul. Errant, like nomadic. So errant, it's like, so it's like the door of the chapel, some nomadic souls. You know, it's like one of those things where like a lot of people come to the church when they're like homeless, because they're like, the church that's full of people who will have mercy on me. I don't know, something like that. De toute façon, ceux qui vivront verront que c'est un vendredi qu'on soufflera de clairon. All the ways, ceux qui means like those who. Ceux qui vivront, this is also future tense, which means to, like, will live. So all the ways, these who will live, verront, which means they will see, that it is a Friday that we, okay, soufflera is like the future tense of saying like to blow out or to breathe or to gasp. All the ways that they will, that these who will live will see that it is a Friday that will blow the clairon. Clairon is like a bugle, like a type of like horn. You know those things like where like whenever you announce something's happening, they would blow it to like know that like the war has commenced or something like that. So souffleront du clairon, like they will blow out or breathe into the bugle. C'est l'argent et l'espoir qu'on perd et qu'on retrouve. Okay, it's the money and the hope. Espoir it means the hope. Qu'on perd, that one loses, and that one retrouve means like to re-find, so one will retrieve it. We'll find it again. Yeah. It's the money and the hope that one loses and that one will find. Donne sans jamais rien attendre en retour. Give without ever nothing to wait in return. So it's basically saying, because sometimes in these things, I'm telling you guys, when I read this, don't translate this word for word, because it's based on context, because some things don't make sense in English. So it's basically give without ever, it's, you know, it's like when people say like give without expecting something in return. So attendre, do not get this confused with like assister. I think it's like, I forget what it is, but it's basically, it means like to wait. Attendre means to wait. It does not mean to attend. So it's like when you're saying like ladies in waiting kind of the thing. Attendre means like, or like when you say attendants, those are people who are waiting. They're not attending something. Like they are waiting for something. So think of it in that context. And it says, le doute n'a plus sa place, donc on y va. La doute means the doubt. Okay, so doubt, n'a plus, does not have any more. Plus means more, so does not have any more its place. Sa place, donc, so on y va. So on y va, you'll kind of hear this a lot, especially when you're like listening to like French sports, because sometimes people will say, they'll say like on y va, like means let's go. It's the same thing as when people say allons-y, but like I was saying before, is we use on instead of nous when we're referring to us as a whole. So we would say on y va, like let's go. On y va. It says, yeah, so the doubt does not have any more, doesn't have a place anymore, so let's go. Donc, you can use this all the time, like don't, so it's like, so this happened, you know, like it's a transitional type of word. Where are they at? Okay, sécurise l'avenir pour la mieux faire. Okay, sécurise means like to secure. L'avenir means the to come. So it's like, avenir means like what's to come. So venir, like I was talking about earlier, means to come, like to arrive at something. Like you come to this place. Avenir means like to come. So it's like something that's going to happen. So like the future. Securing the future pour la milfa. If you switch this around, it means la famille, which means the family. So securing the future for the family. La peur s'installe dans les yeux de l'avocat. So the fear, s'installe means like to settle, like to like, it's like when like the villagers, like the people, the Vikings came over and they settled in this particular part of the, you know, or whatever. So that's gonna come up. And then, so it's like la peur s'installe, like settles itself in the eyes of the advocate. Avocat, in French, avocat can also mean like a lawyer. Like, je dois appeler mon avocat. Like I need to call my lawyer. That kind of thing. So because an advocate, like a lawyer, is a person who's advocating for on your behalf of the law. You know, if that makes sense. Okay. Sorcellerie qui sort de la boca, tout va bien, le serpent est dans la boca. So sorcellerie means sorcery. That sortir means like to go out. So like sorcery that goes out of the mouth. And la boca is Spanish, but sometimes, especially like in, like if you listen to like people who are Moroccan or like North African, because some of those countries are going to be very much French and Spanish inspired. Because I know that a friend of mine was telling me that he was from Jordan, and he was saying that even though like whenever he listens to a Moroccan speak Arabic, he's like, it's always so like French and Spanish influence. So sometimes you'll hear that. If you've ever heard of Aya Nakamura, who is another French artist that I really like, she was born in Mali, and she does the same thing. There's certain words I'm like, isn't that Spanish? But sometimes they're also words from her language originally, but it's just, they use that in their own words. So it's code switching, okay? When people speak more than two languages, it's likely like two or more languages. Sometimes you'll get both of them like they'll mix within that. Okay. So sorcery, he means who, but sometimes it will use that in terms of the noun being a subject. So sorcery that goes out of the mouth, tout va bien. Tout va bien means like everything goes well. So if someone says like, how are you, ça va, you can say, oh, tout va bien, like everything's going well with me. Because va is a conjugated form is the third person conjugation of aller, which means going. So it's going well. Le serpent est dans la boca. I don't really need to say what le serpent is, because serpent, snake. The snake is in the bowl. Boca is like you don't really use that in like standard like French, but you can say that. So I looked that up, and it actually means bowl or jar. Kilomètre, année, lumière entre moi et toi. Kilomètre, kilometers. Année, lumière, like means light years between us. So it's like, anytime you want to say like if you're going to talk about like the distance between us, you could say les kilomètres entre nous, like the kilometers between us. So if you're trying to say like distance between someone, like you're like, oh, you're so far away, you're so distances away, you can just say kilomètres entre. It is kilometers, light years between you, between me and you. Corbeau de mauvais augure se pose sur le toit. Okay, so basically this is like, I'm not necessarily, it's basically like bad omens. De mauvais augure is basically like bad, it's basically bad omens. And then c'est po, if you flip that, it's poser. So like you can like to pose, like if you're saying like to pose a question, you could say poser des questions. Sur le toit, which is, sur le toit means on the roof. So it's like something of a bad omen on the roof. Posed on the roof. Ton chakra est trop faible, non, tu fais pas le poids. Your chakra is too weak. Faible, you can think of this as like failing, like faible. Yeah. No, you make you do not the weight. Poids is like pounds. You don't make the pounds. So it's like, or if you're talking about weight, like if you wanted to say, I want to lose weight, je veux perdre les poids. It's like your chakras are weak. No, don't make the weight. So it's like, I don't really necessarily know how to say it. Like I said, I'm basically translating this literally because I don't really necessarily know how to put this in context of what he could be saying. Because obviously I don't know. I can't really put words in his mouth to say this is what he's saying, but I can translate literally what this means. Je suis toujours le bras qu'on niqué à babo. Schneck der sur le pif der rocky. So it means je suis toujours, I am the arm that nique. This comes from the word nique, which basically means I don't know how to say this. It basically means like to screw someone, but like in the obscene way. So it's kind of like, you know, when you're saying like, I am always the arm that screws to Balboa. So it's basically, I'm the one that basically messes with. I mean, nique, it's like another way of saying baiser, which basically means to, I feel bad saying this, but it basically means like to fuck, basically, in the obscene context. So yeah, nique a Balboa. I actually like Schneckzer. I don't sur le pif. I know that this has to do with like his native language, I think, because it's not French. Actually look this up. This actually means like coup de nez, which is like, coup de nez means like a strike of the nose. So it's like punching someone in the nose. So it's punching the nose like Rocky, like, you know, like Rocky Balboa. So like, just sock him in the face like Rocky Balboa. Ça parle beaucoup plus qu'autre chose du qu'on fait. It means that speaks a lot more than another thing. All accounts made. Because compte can also mean to count, like un, deux, trois, but it also can mean like in the noun sense, like counting, like an account, like j'ai un compte, like I have an account. All accounts made. Sa vie, ça meurt dans un conte de fées. Ça insulte des darons avec un conte fait. Sa vie means that life. Sa meurtre, which means like to murder or assassinate. Un conte de fées means like a fairy tale. Un conte de fées means a fairy tale. Ça insulte, that insults des darons. I looked this up on word reference. It didn't have really anything to say on this, but apparently it's according to the forum, daron is actually like slang for mothers. So daron is like a father. Daron is a mother. So it's a slang term for mothers with a fake account. So it's basically, it says that life, it murders in a fairy tale that insults the mothers with a fake account. Not sure what that necessarily means, but that's what it says. Ça veut parler que d'oseille ou ça rend fou apparemment. C'est un métier, c'est faire rire fou. That wants to speak. So anytime you're trying to say I mean, like if you're trying to say like this is what I mean, you can say ça que je veux dire. Like, I want to say means I mean. So it's like if you're trying to correct something and like, let's say someone's not understanding what you're saying, you can say, no. Je veux dire. Je veux dire. Like, I want to say, yeah. Je veux dire. So basically, I want to speak that of the, I looked that up. I was kind of confused about this. I'll fact check it. It's on the screen. Yes. Way is like another way of saying like yeah. Like when we say like oui, which means yes. If you want to say like their version, because in English we say yes, but then we can also say yeah. It means the same thing, but one is just kind of lazy, lazier version. So if you want to say yeah, you can say ouais. Yeah. Ouais, ça rend fou. Ça rend fou means that renders full. So it's like if you want to say something like makes me, like renders someone to, like, if it's kind of like if you're saying like someone like makes me crazy, like it could mean like in a romantic sense, it could be like in like a frustrated sense. So it's like that renders full, that renders someone crazy. Ça rend fou. Apparently, c'est un métier. C'est un métier. There, it means it is a job. De se faire, that does itself. Ferait. Fou. You switch that around. It's ferait, which means to stuff or to get yourself screwed. It is a job that will make oneself screwed. L'intérim, c'est du ping-pong, ça paye pas Jeff Bezos, PIB des Pays-Bas. So l'intérim, it's kind of like, we use that in English, interim, which basically means like an intermediate temporary period. C'est du ping-pong, it is ping-pong, like it's like in between period where you're just going back and forth. You don't know. Ça paye pas, that doesn't pay. Jeff Bezos, PIB of the Netherlands. Pays-Bas means country low, so Netherlands. PIB, this actually, if you write it out, it means Produit Intérieur Brut, which is another way, is their way of saying GDP, or gross domestic product, which is the amount of product that a country produces in products or services within that country. So it's a good economic term to know. The intermediate period, it's ping pong, that doesn't pay. Jeff Bezos, the GDP of the Netherlands. So it's like basically he's talking about Jeff Bezos' net worth, so to say. And then it ends with the last, it ends that verse with saying, Je ne peux pas me tromper, je suis en playback, je réalise toujours pas que je suis papa. I cannot me tromper. Tromper means like to mistake something, or like if you ever heard the term trompe d'œil, which basically means which means a trick of the eye. So it's like something that like tricks your brain. You know, like those like brain teasers, or like those like images where like you look at it and it looks like it's moving but it's not. That's like a trick of the eye. It's like I cannot mistake myself. Je suis en playback means I am on playback. I realize always, I don't always realize that I am a father. Papa means father. I don't always realize I am papa. I don't really, because he has kids now. So I guess it's like, I don't always realize that I am a father. Faut du bon dans mes textes, pas que du papa. So, faut, like we talked about, it must be done at the bottom, du fond. Like if you ever heard anyone say au fond de, like at the deep of, like au fond de mon cœur, means at the deep in my heart. There's profond, which basically means the same thing, deeply. So it must be done at the bottom in my text, not in the papa. So when it says papa, like if you watch the music video, this is a point where it just there's like 2 gunshots, so that's what he's talking about. So it's like it must be done deep in my text, not of gunshots. So it's like basically saying like we need to do things must be done deep in our words, not in guns, not in violence. And then it finishes off with the refrain, which we talked about earlier. Vas-y, zid, zid. Vas-y means like go. Like if you can say like vas-y, like it goes. Something like that. Because vas is actually the two conjugation of you go, tu vas. So it's like you go there. So to say. Okay. And then it also says in there, it says encore un peu, which means encore. We've used that word before in English, like encore, like to get someone to do something, to someone to perform again or perform more. Encore basically means again. It could also mean still, like I'm still here, like je suis encore là, I'm still there. Encore can mean like again, like je suis là encore, I'm there again. Yeah. Un peu means a little bit. So it's like I am there a little bit again. I don't necessarily know how to, I'm gonna have to think about that. Encore un peu. Like still a little bit, I guess, maybe. So basically that is my translation of Gims Immortel. And I think in the spirit of the song, and then even from the music video, which I think is a really great way. The video actually was an original idea by Gims. It says so in the very beginning of the video. But basically, it really is a visual to say that, you know, I mean, like basically when it comes to Black culture, particularly, and I can say this as a Black person, is that we've gone through a lot, and we are immortal because a lot of the people that have fought and come before us, they are remembered in the hearts of men. So I think this is a really great song. I think you guys should check it out. That's also linked below. And also, if you're looking for any recommendations from his songs, you can also check out our website, which I have that particular page linked. So you can check out other music recommendations that are by him. So thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'm here to help you become more connected to the world and the people that are in it. Thank you.
Je pense déjà à l'argent que je vais chez tout. On veut me faire chier que le poison est dans le gel douche. Je te parle d'écologie dans un V12. Je viens tout chambouler comme le divorce. T'as fait la soirée, l'after, même le before. Nous verrons tôt ou tard qui est le plus fort. Je te suggère d'économiser tes forces. Ferme la porte car je passe par le bifrost. Tous ces efforts pour te faire éliminer. Personne n'a marché sur le croissant lumineux. Zip, zip, what I know. Zip, zip, c'est déjà fini. Zip, zip, what I know. Zip, 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 c'est déjà fini.